Right. So welcome back. This time we'll be looking at Naihanchi. Helping me will be Sensei Kerry Moore. And I'm sure we'll see an appearance of Simon come on and help us out at certain points. So hope you enjoy it. Again, always say, if your instructor doesn't like this, then carry on doing what the instructor says. Yeah. Naihanchi, where do we begin? At the beginning, I suppose. But this one's quite difficult. I call it the iceberg. There's this little bit at the top, but underneath it, there's a lot to learn in Naihanchi. Originally thought, where does it place itself within the Wado world? It's a difficult one to ask. Unfortunately, Otsuka the First isn't here. So it'd be quite interesting to understand why did Naihanchi and Seishan Kata. I'm sure Sensei Kerry will be delving into the history and maybe something will come out there. But with Wadō-ryū, we're all about taisubaki, not trying to get hit. Whereas Naihanchi, it's quite a static kata. Small, basic moves. So what we'll be doing first is looking at the kata in itself and looking at a few pointers of the moves and where your arm and where you should be looking. And then later on we'll be trying to look at some applications for it. And also we'll be looking at possibly how you use your internals on the kata. And some of the Okinawan guys, please forgive me for this. It's the start of my journey. We've only been doing it for the past, 5 years, something like that. So we'll be looking at it and seeing how we can apply it. See, to me, you have the Wadō-ryū world, and then with the katas, and then it seemed as though on the periphery there was Naihanchi and Seishan Kata, and how did we actually combine that into this moving taisubaki Wadō-ryū world? And it was always a little bit of ambiguous to me on how it evolved and how it should be introduced into the mainstream of Wadō-ryū. So obviously you cannot practice Seishan unless you know Naihanchi, because you have the basic set principles there that go into your Tate Seishan and your Yoko Seishan, especially at the beginning of Seishan Kata. And then we get free with the second part of Seishan. But that will be another program. So I'm sure there'll be a lot more talking with Naihanchi Kata than actually the moves and the applications. So yeah, be quite an interesting kata. Yeah, I'm just starting to learn it after all these years. So please bear with us. Wish. Naihanchi. Hey! Okay, those who've looked really close, as you can see, I'm struggling with up and down, especially on this one. I injured my knee, right knee, and then a few weeks ago I tripped up and fell on my hip. So this hip's not too good either. It's all part of getting old. So I didn't want to fall over and I didn't want to injure my knee, but facts of life. But I really wanted to do Naihanchi. So if you see me wince slightly and my foot not coming up as high as it should do, then you'll fully understand, especially some of some of you older karateka, so bear with me. Okay, so we start off in keisoku, and bring the hands in. Okay, try and use your breathing. So when you come up, breathe in. Thumbs, breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathing in. Breathe out. Then when you're attacking, you should have no air inside your lungs. So you've actually expelled everything. Okay, so when you come up, over, back and down. This explains why you have your left hand on top, right hand inside, so that when you come back, you end up with the same as when you started. Exactly the same when you do kushanku. So when you do kushanku, it's purely because of Naihanchi. Looking is a very important part of the kata. It sort of shows the direction of where the attack's coming from. So the first one is looking right the way over here. And strike. We'll be going through the practicalities afterwards. It's just to give you some prime knowledge of where your arms and where your defense should be. So, yeah. Then MP, come back, looking over here. Then you follow that to straight. Then you look to your left. Comes up, look to your right. Up and defend. Drops, you look to the left, double strike. And then it's the same again, but opposite direction. So your viewing is quite important to the kata. When you go into Naihanchi stance, you need to be thinking of equilateral triangle. Here. It's important that your feet are flat, not up on sokoto, not on the edges, but your feet are spread out. So it's like a big footprint. So you're trying to drop your arches of your feet down onto. Next part is to the width is controlled purely because of dropping your knee down. And you should have a fist and a half in between. So if I can use Sensei Kerry, my knees aren't so good, so. So if you take Naihanchi, yeah, if you drop this knee down, you should have a fist and a half. So once more, drop down, it's just fist and a half. So that sets your width. So thank you, Kerry. So that sets it for your Naihanchi. Also your Yoko Seishan, and also your Tate Seishan. So try and remember, drop the knee, foot and a half. Your feet should be pointing in to the center of the equilateral triangle, or the apex, here. Then you drop your knees. Some styles call this teki. This kata called teki. Shodan, teki nidan. Teki means horse. So you can imagine feet in the stirrups, knees drop down. And when you're using your hands, you would steer the horse by your knees. So knees play an important part of this Naihanchi dachi. Then you drop your weight down to actually the centroid of the triangle. Yeah, so if you took midway here, drew a line through, same here, midpoint through, and then same here, midway through. And you'll end up with a centroid, which is usually 1/3, 2/3 of the equilateral triangle. So you try and drop your weight down to this centroid. When you step in, you try and use the sokoto and the rollover. When you first try to do Naihanchi, you might have to turn your hips and then turn the hips back to help you. I've sort of come full circle. Because I have the problems with my knees now, I have to use this, moving the hip in and let it come back. That helps me gain Naihanchi as I'm stepping across. Here, when you're stepping through, you come up, across and strike. Applications we'll be looking at after. When you bring the arms up, try not to do this. Seen so many people do this. Yeah, just let it be like a lattice. So this is dropping and your elbows go out just to accommodate it. And as it drops down, it comes back in again. So be careful of that, right? So, 1 and 2 and MP. Try and use just the top half and try and use it as a minimal amount. And come back. So of course we was pointing that way, looking. Now we're looking at 45 or slightly over. Gidanbarai and Nanamizuki. When you do Nanamizuki, try not to make it artificial. Pulling back. Make it like a Tomokomizuki or where it just relaxes. Just relaxes. Not pull back. So here, it's punched, but it's come back in a relaxed position. When you move across, sokoto, roll over. Not this. Try and use your shoulder to do it. Then, gidanbarai. But again, try and use your shoulder. Try and use this. And bring your chest in. This fist should be pointing Jodan, not down here. Pointing Jodan. Look, comes up and back down. But try and keep your body here. And try and bring your knee as high as you can. Up, down. Back into your Naihanchi stance. Cover. Same this side, try and bring your foot right the way up, but keep your center here. And again, across. Drop, look, and double strike. Open, turn, start pulling back. Seishan. Seishan position. If you pull back, you can't do the application. We'll look at that application after. Here. Then MP. Pull back. Then the kata is exactly the same, but hantai gawa. Other direction. I think this is the only kata I know where it's part of the pattern. You do one side and then you do the other side. When you finish, obviously your foot's this one needs to just relax open so the inside of your foot is straight for this one to come up. If you don't, it doesn't work. So just relax and come up. Hands, right. Push.